Welcome back to the Gallop. My name is Soria. I'm here joined by my co-anchor Matthew Muren, and along with us we have the women's soccer coach of Cal Poly. He spent 4 years as an assistant coach from Cal Poly from 2013 to 2016 under the legendary Alex Crozier. He played at UC Santa Barbara you're an assistant coach at Santa Barbara until 2017. You coached at Sac State from 2018 to 2022. And then we're the head coach of CSU Bakersfield from 2023 and the 2024 season. Bernardo Silva, how are you doing today?
Awesome. Love, appreciate the introduction. Really happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, lengthy resume and an impressive one as well. So
yeah,
really glad to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And just to start us off, I think it's time for, this new generation of Mustangs to get to know you a little bit better. But you grew up in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you want to come to America in the first place?
That's a great one. Growing up in Portugal, obviously you gotta make a decision on whether you want to continue with your studies or whether you want to go the professional route. And right around 15, 16 years old, I was having to make those decisions. My parents were very adamant about me keeping my studies going, and it was definitely a challenge to kind of figure that out then. And I think when I started doing some research and the opportunities that were outside of Portugal, both in England and the United States, to continue to play at a high level while also getting your degree, it was just a world that I wasn't, I guess, preview to growing up. And so the opportunity came. I started learning English. English is taught pretty much as a second language in Portugal. And I told my parents, well, I want to continue my studies. So can I go into an American international school so I can learn English intensively and go study abroad and pursue a scholarship, to play college soccer. And so did that for 2 years, got ready. And when I was 18, I visited a bunch of schools in California and around the country, people that were interested in me as a soccer player. And when I landed in Santa Barbara, it was where it was meant to be. They had just won the national championship, and so I was really excited to potentially go there. I didn't get an offer from them, so I had to walk on. I had offers from other places, and and so I had an incredible time there for 4 years, and here we are.
Yeah, and I mean, after earning your spot there and then, coming to Cal Poly to coach under Crozier, how was that transition to, a rival school that you guys were going up against?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because my first year at Cal Poly is actually on the men's side with Paul Holliker. And so that was even a harder transition because I just played against them for so many years. And then it was just at that point in my career, it was just a matter of an opportunity, and so it was just, I wanted to get into coaching. I think I was born to coach, and I knew that from a young age. And so it was just an opportunity. And Coach Paul showed interest in me, joining as a volunteer. And then, about a year later, after that, Coach Crozier had an opening on his staff that was a paid position. And I was like, I got to start making some money. And my wife kind of pushed me into coaching women, and it was the best decision that I could have made in my career. And I think I was not only born to coach, but definitely born to coach women, and then I was with Coach Alex for 4 years before I continued with everything else.
Yeah, and I mean, going on to the rest of your career as well, and just, transitioning into an eventual head coaching role, how was that transition, taking a lot more responsibility with the tactics, with a lot of just, the day-to-day stuff as well?
Yeah, I feel like I've always, that was always the goal, was to become a head coach one day. So I felt like I always prepared and I always did things with the intent to, whenever that opportunity would come, that I would be ready for it. I was lucky enough to, every head coach that I worked under to help, help me grow and make sure that I understood what the demands were for that position. And so I felt like I always, responsibilities-wise, the roles that I would take, my voice, I was always somebody that, my head coaches wanted to know my opinion about things. And so I felt like I had a lot of impact, even as an assistant and across all the schools, Cal Poly, Santa Barbara, Sacramento State. And so when you have really good, role models as head coaches, and you have an opportunity to grow under them while also trying some head coaching things within as an assistant. I think then it was just a matter of somebody believing in me, and the opportunity came at Cal State Bakersfield. But I felt like I was ready for it because I had been doing like things, up until that point. And so it wasn't like a huge change. Now, a little bit more pressure because now you're the one making the final call on things. But I was just so excited and ready for that opportunity.
Yeah, what was the things you're saying, like you did stuff that was kind of like being a head coach. Mm-hmm. What were some examples of that while you were an assistant?
Like recruiting was a huge one. Recruiting is the lifeblood of a program. And, Coach Randy Dedini at Sacramento State, he kind of gave me the keys. He's like, okay, you're a really good recruiter. I've seen you work and you like to, my willingness to work and travel and, and meet people and connect with people. And so he saw me working for about a year and he's like, okay, here are the keys. Go get some players, And so I think recruiting was a big one. Tactically, just running sessions, and I think I worked with coaches that were a little bit older too. So they were kind of towards the last couple of years of their careers. And so I think from that perspective too, these coaches are, when they see a hungry, younger person and they see somebody that, has similar values to them, I think they're more willing to, give up some control of some things. And so I think recruiting, tactical decisions, in-game coaching, those were some big ones. A lot of the camps, camps that you do, youth camps, college ID camps, like all those things. I just felt like I had a pretty good sense of how to do everything that a head coach. Now budgets and stuff like that. That's more stuff that when you become a head coach you have to handle. But I would say that those were the main areas that I was able to be just prepared and ready to go.
Yeah, and following up Crozier, especially because he's been here for so many years, was that coach for, that older figure for so long. How do you think bringing in that, younger perspective and having a bit more, fresh energy to the program, how do you think that's going to go?
I think it's been really welcomed and received. I think I've told this to the players that I feel like I'm coming to Cal Poly. Cal Poly needs me and I need Cal Poly. And then I felt that on my interview process, as well. It's that I'm meant to be right here, right now. And I think the program wasn't the program that was handed to me and the foundation that's been laid by Coach Crozier is just incredible. When somebody's at the helm for 33 years and has been successful for a long time, and I feel like I'm coming into a place where I have to just add layers to things. I'm not going into the foundation and having to tear anything down. It's just the foundations have been laid. I just come in and, it's like I'm calling it the Cal Poly 2.0. That's kind of how we're labeling it. And it's with the intent of it's like when you update your iPhone, you get a little bit quicker, things move a little bit faster. There's a little more energy, maybe get some new emojis on your, on your text message, and you just provide a little bit of a different look to things. But from a value standpoint, it's very similar, things are not much different, but I think the team is excited about my energy, my passion, and obviously, my want to elevate beyond what Coach Crozier has done here. I think this is a sleeping giant, and I'm excited with the layers that we're going to add to elevate it regionally and nationally to a higher level.
Yeah, and then you said that coming to Cal Poly, this was your dream job. When did you realize that this was your dream job? Or yeah.
Yeah, it's and it's funny because I also don't say things just to sound like they're buzzwords, because I think a lot of people say dream job and it's not really what they're saying. I really meant that, and I think I felt that on my interview. I think when I left, 7 years ago as an assistant, it was a really hard decision to leave this place. It's hard for people to leave San Luis Obispo. It's hard to leave Cal Poly. But I at that point in my career, I felt the need to grow. I felt like I had almost reached a ceiling. And so I needed to grow. I needed to go work for other people. I needed to go and challenge myself. And so, but it was always with the intent of, and whenever Coach Crozier would decide to retire, that I would be prepared to be, to walk into our athletic director's office and feel like, Don, I'm ready. I'm the guy. I'm the one that you want to follow Coach Crozier, and so the preparation that I did and it never really deviated. Everything was very done intentionally with the intent to come back and be prepared for an opportunity. And so it's a dream job because this place has everything to be successful: academic excellence, facilities, support, community, beach. What do we not have? It's a dream job, and an opportunity to raise my family. I got three little ones. My wife is beaming of excitement to be moving to San Luis Obispo for us to raise our family. And so it's a dream job, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, and I was gonna get to that. Like, you've been moving around. You have 3 little kids. What has it been like? Just hopping around all of California for this past decade.
My wife is an incredible woman. Behind a good coach, there's an even better wife. And I feel like she's been incredible. She's the rock of our family. Even right now, she's in Bakersfield still with the 3 kids. While I'm here trying to get everything settled. So I think we just have a really great partnership. She's the best teammate that you can ask for, and I knew that when we married, and so it's been a challenge. I think obviously the life of a coach is a challenging one because you spend so much time consumed in your profession and recruiting and long hours, long days, and so. But I think she knew what she signed up for when she met me. She knew my ambition and my passion for the game, and I think it's important that my kids see that too. See the dad pursuing his dreams. And pushing for things that he really wants to achieve. So I think I'm a really good example and role model for them on that. But yeah, it's a challenge to move your family with 3 kids from San Luis Obispo to Sacramento and then down to Bakersfield and now back to SLO. It's definitely a challenge. We've developed some resiliency for sure through that, but I think it's good for the kids to experience that too, because I do think it's they get an opportunity to understand that moving is part of life, and you can still keep your friends while moving. And so I think at the end of the day, I think it's a good thing, even though there's challenges obviously that get associated with it.
Yeah, and speaking on moving a little bit more, you moved here from Portugal, which is such a soccer powerhouse.
Yeah,
and there's another Portuguese man, I'm sure shares your name, plays at Man City. But yeah, how has, that Portuguese sort of style implemented into your game and how you coach and approach the game?
That's a great question. And I think, I often say that I'm the best, I'm the better Bernardo Silva version, so, but I get often when people answer my calls and it says Bernardo Silva, they're like, wait, Manchester City, Bernardo Silva, what's going on here? Yeah, I think, growing up in Portugal, football, soccer is a religion. It's a way of life. And so I definitely, that passion is felt within my coaching. Portugal over the last couple of years has found a lot of success. Obviously we have, Cristiano Ronaldo as a symbol of that. But I think Portugal has found a way with 10 million people, which is our population. So we're, California is over 30 million, in Portugal you have 10 million people. I think we have found a way with the coaches that have been there to have a philosophy that is successful. A little bit of like a pragmatic style as well to things. Like when we won the Euros, I thought, against France, it was a very pragmatic Portugal. I think we have a younger generation of players coming through that's going to be a little bit more exciting maybe to watch, less pragmatic. But I think I'm a coach that has a really good balance of attacking football and defending football. Like I appreciate players that can have a similar level of pride in both of those moments. Passion for what you do and a love for the game is essential. And obviously I grew up with soccer. And so I think in this country, you have an opportunity to play so many different sports that sometimes it's hard to settle into one. In Portugal, if you don't play soccer, you're kind of different. You're kind of weird, in a way. And so it's like you just you walk out of the womb, and you have a soccer ball at your feet, So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I want to bring to my teams, There's just a level of passion for the game and a love for the game, and I think that's just felt when I coach.
Yeah, and I gotta say, when I saw the news that we had Bernardo Silva come into Cal Poly, I was like, did he retire? Like, what happened? I was very confused for about like 3 minutes, and then saw the career, and I was like, it makes a lot more sense.
That's funny, man.
Yeah,
that's too good.
Yeah, I want to go back to like when you were head coaching Bakersfield, what was it like stepping into that role? And like, did you expect to make it all the way to the Big West Championship?
I don't think I mean, I know what I'm capable of, and I knew what I was going to build. There's other opportunities, head coaching opportunities that happened when I was an assistant at Sacramento State, and I just waited for the right one. And I really felt connected with the athletic director there and his mission and what he was trying to do. I felt connected with the identity of Bakersfield, which is more of like an underdog type of identity. It's a city that is looked down upon, for its location, for its climate, for the air quality. And I'm like, okay, sounds great. Bring it on. Let's even tap into the underdog, because I am an underdog by nature. I was like that as a player. And so I felt really close with the identity that Bakersfield has. And so I knew what I could do. I didn't know we could do it so quickly. I don't think any coach knows that. But I went with the intent of being the best women's soccer program that the department has seen. And after a lot of changes within the roster and making sure that the identity of the team represented the identity of Bakersfield, we put together a group of women that absolutely loved each other. They were on a mission to achieve a goal. And it's the coolest thing about coaching women. And when you have a group of women that love each other and they're all operating with the same standards, chasing the same goal. As a coach, I didn't have to do much at the end. Like I think I set the parameters, I recruited the right people, and then I just prepared them for each of the games. And so when, going on that run all the way to the Big West final and losing in penalty kicks, I mean, it was incredible, historical for the department. And something that I'll never forget. But yeah, it's I have a lot of belief in who I am as a person, as a coach. I know what I can do. And I know one of my biggest strengths is my hashtag is culture wins, and I think that's what we did. Our culture won, and I think that was a pretty cool thing to experience.
Yeah. And in your interview with Chris Sylvester, you said that you saw opportunity when others saw impossibility, which I thought that was like, you're spitting bars there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me more about, like, you said that you're an underdog, like, type of person. Like, what does that mean? Like, how, is there any, like, past experience that kind of shaped you that way?
I think just the way I was raised. My dad is an ambitious businessman. We never got anything handed to ourselves. We had to work for everything. So the way my brother and I were raised was very much like that. In Portugal, you have it's not like we had a good life, from an environment standpoint, a financial standpoint. But like I said, like we never missed anything. But everything had to be earned, and I think that's the environment that I was raised. And then coming to the United States, not having a scholarship, having to earn that. Meanwhile, learning English, as a second language, and having to, to figure out a way to communicate and fit in a different culture. So I feel like every single thing that I have done in my life, both as growing up as a young boy in Portugal and how I played, it was always with, I was never the most technical kid. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'll compensate in other areas. So I was always lacking something, and I always found a way to overcome it. And that's why that quote is so important to me, because I did, when I took the job at Bakersfield, I mean, people thought I was crazy, because they had seen me as a young coach that, within the college game that was going to, be a really good young coach. And then you go to a place where people thought it was a hole, that you couldn't get out, because a lot of coaches have passed through there and haven't been able to be successful. And to your point, I saw opportunity. I was like, okay, like let's do something cool here, and so yeah, the underdog piece, it's definitely present in my DNA, and I'm bringing it to Cal Poly too, because I do think it's important especially with the current landscape of college athletics, and the separation, the more powerful schools, the more, you're going to continue to see this separation. And I want to keep chasing those guys, but we got to have a little bit of an underdog approach to that, so definitely bringing that spirit everywhere that I go.
Yeah, and I mean, coming into, a program that's pretty built, as you said, what are some of the opportunities that you see and that you can kind of take advantage of this coming up season?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we've talked with our team this whole spring is the ability to being adaptable. I think last year when Cal Poly, and obviously during my interview process, I did my research. I obviously watched Cal Poly because I followed them closely, and I just never felt like Cal Poly had a plan B, plan C, plan D. So if plan A worked, it was really good. It was really hard to beat Cal Poly on the day. I'm an adaptable person. I think it's really important to prepare our teams to be successful in all types of moments and all types of scenarios. And whether the game is physical and gritty, you got to roll up your sleeves and get to work, and if the game is more technical, then we're going to be ready for that. And I think being an adaptable team has been a big common theme for us this spring. I think I bring a level of grind that others don't. I am a grinder. It does not matter what the weather is. It does not matter what the referee calls. You grind. It doesn't matter how tired you are. You grind. And so I think there's I can add an element of grind to Cal Poly, an element of adaptability. We had this crazy stat last year at Bakersfield too, that out of the 29 goals that we scored, 22 were scored on set pieces, which set pieces are an essential part of the game. Corner kicks, throw-ins, free kicks. And so it's a crazy stat because that means that 70% of our goals were scored on set pieces. And so two things. One, we obviously were not very good at scoring goals in the run-up play, so that you can look at it that way. But I chose to look like, no, we found a way to score goals on set pieces. Cal Poly, on the other hand, struggled last year on set pieces, conceding goals on set pieces, scoring goals on set pieces. So I'm bringing a set piece layer. And I think it's a want to dominate all moments of the game. It doesn't matter what the game brings. We're going to dominate all moments. And so those are some of the things that I saw as opportunities to come in, and I could inject energy right away in those areas. And the girls have been incredible and curious and committed to the layers that I've brought. And we're going to be a really complete team come August.
Yeah, and I mean, those are the parts of the game that you can control as a coach, that you can actually prepare for game in, game out.
Absolutely.
You know what you're going to see, and you know what you guys can actually execute on. And I mean, I think that's something super important. I know there's a lot of great coaches that have come out of Portugal who have that adaptability. I mean, Jose Mourinho, to say one. I know he coached my team, Man U, for a little bit, but
love it.
We'll leave that at the door.
Yeah, I like the thing when you said like controlling all parts of the game, like the set pieces. I mean, I'll admit, like I really don't watch soccer that much.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna make an analogy to American football.
Yeah.
Everyone says that like special teams, like the kickoff returns, that's a third of the game. So it's like when you can control all aspects of the game, like that's important for everything.
Absolutely.
That's where success comes. And I think I didn't know the stat about the set pieces, and I think that speaks a lot to the preparation. that you put in, that kind of underdog mentality, because it takes a dog to get your players to really commit like that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, going into kind of that Cal Poly 2.0 and, what we're going to see next year, I think physicality was a huge part of that Bakersfield squad. I think you guys had something like 30 yellow cards and, 1 red, but that was, I think, 3 times as much as Cal Poly last year. And so how important is setting the tone in a game and, like, really having your physical presence be felt?
Yeah, it's another part of the game that I think is hugely important to dominate. And again, I don't set my teams up to like let's get yellow cards, but I do want them to compete for every 50-50 ball with the intent to dominate that moment. And so once in a while you're going to get a yellow card because you're trying to compete at that high level. And so I think it starts in training though too. I think what we are expecting of our team, and we talk a lot about this with our group, that We want to be a team that is harder to play for than it is to play against. And I think that tone gets set in training. So our physicality, our ability to demand that from each other, the way we compete in training, games are going to be easy because you're not having to turn on a light switch. It's already on. It's always on. So at Bakersfield, I think that to a certain extent was exacerbated because of the underdog piece. And so we really tapped into that. I think here it's not that we don't have the players. I just didn't think we had the mentality. And I don't think that was emphasized by the previous staff versus with me, it will be, because I do think that the physical part of the game, or the physicality part of the game is hugely important. And we can already see that. I mean, in the spring we definitely upped our yellow cards. And again, the intent is not to get a yellow. The intent is just that, if you're going to tackle a player, make sure that she knows that you're there. Make sure you've left, metaphorically speaking, a mark. Like she doesn't. I said this on the interview with the Chris Sylvester about like the want to leave a mark. I don't want anybody to be happy to be playing Cal Poly. We're excited to play Cal Poly. No. You're not excited to play us, and the next time that we face you in the playoffs, you're going to get it again. And so I think that intensity, that level of intensity, just comes then with physicality and us wanting to impose ourselves in the game like that too. So that's without a doubt a trait of the 2.0 is the physicality, intensity for sure.
And it's a process. Like, Ogie Kennedy, his men's soccer team last year, or like 2020, the 2024 season, like they had one of the highest amounts of yellow cards in the entire NCAA. And then this year, like they're a really nice physical team, and they won the Big West regular season. So, I hope to see something similar to that for this fall too.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna say a few words that I think you might be familiar with.
Okay.
Passion, connection, humility, commitment, selflessness, confidence. Do any of those words ring a bell to you?
I'm pretty sure I think that might be on is that my coaching philosophy website?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I took those.
That is awesome.
Website.
That is awesome. Yeah. Those, right there. Yeah, absolutely. That's Bernardo in a nutshell, 100%. And I live very aligned with what I say. I challenge my players all the time, guys. If I'm ever asking you to do something that I'm not doing, then you feel free to hold me accountable too. So I really preach that to them. And so all of those traits, they're going to be part of 2.0 because that's what I do. And so I kind of live by that. And I think recruiting players that have similar values is really, really important so that we're really aligned.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked a little bit about the transfer portal and just, the new layer that brings to college athletics. And how do you see that kind of filling in some of the gaps in the team? And also, have you lost any players this past year that you maybe didn't want to see go?
The transfer portal is the part of the new landscape of college athletics. I think I see it as I rather look at it as a good thing than a not so good thing, because at the end of the day, if we can spend time talking about the bad parts of everything. So I like to look at it, okay, it's an opportunity obviously for players to find a better fit, for coaches to find a better fit, for certain players. So we used it heavily at Cal State Bakersfield. We recruited 29 new players within the year and a half that I was there, and 60 to 70% of those were transfer portal players. And so I do think that there's an art to it. You got to do a lot of your research. You got to do your homework. You got to check in with your club coaches and club directors and teachers and everybody. So we've already added players from there. We added Julia Moore, who's a captain at Long Beach State. Tremendous young woman, and we're so excited to have her with us. And she had a 3-year career at Long Beach State that was amazing. She's a Santa Cruz girl. Cal Poly and San Luis Obispo are her thing, So we added her. We added Maddie Dougherty, who had a great career at Sacramento State. She's coming in to do her postgraduate degree here. She has NCAA tournament experience. And like I was mentioning to you guys earlier, we've already committed a couple as well with this May transfer portal window. We had, a couple of players that decided that we weren't the right fit, and that's totally fine. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know if I'm the head coach for everybody. The environment that I create is a demanding one, but I also think a really rewarding one to be a part of, and so yeah, I look at it as very natural. We have visits all week this week, next week as well, and we're going to continue to add players and people that we believe are going to make us better, because I believe that better people make better teams. That's our motto, and so we're going to continue to dive into it. But I think the transfer portal for us within the context of Cal Poly is going to be, if you have a specific hole in a certain position and you evaluate that during the spring, hey, we weren't able to recruit a center back or we weren't able to recruit a goalkeeper, then we go and look at the portal. I don't think this year is probably going to be the year that we're going to bring the most, just because I'm new and there's certain things that I need to see quicker. But moving forward, we're still going to heavily rely on high school players, because this place attracts the best of the best. You can bring any player here to school and you have a shot at them, whether they're on the national team or not. It doesn't matter. So yeah, we're going to have a balanced approach to that for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of losing a few people, Cal Poly, they lost their captain and defender Emma Brown, along with a couple other defenders, Ainsley Connor and Danny Wozniak.
Mm-hmm.
But how is this kind of new defensive committee filling in to these roles so far in the spring?
Yeah, no, Emma Brown and Ainsley Connor, they were at the heart of Cal Poly defense for 2 years, and those are two particular positions that we're looking to add players. We need to add some quality and depth there. We feel like we have some solutions in-house, some people that could step into those roles, but we definitely need to add more there. Danny as an outside back, I think we probably already have the replacements in-house for that. So I think the spring has been all about, I've told the team, it's been elevating our floor, meaning that, our freshman players that didn't get significant playing time over the fall season, they've had an opportunity now to play against 3 Division I teams. We started 5 freshmen this past weekend against Stanford, and you can see that the first half they were all over the place, nerves and, trying to figure things out, and because it's Stanford and you're playing national team players. But then the second half was fantastic. So they were growing up as the game was going. And so that's what the spring is for, is to elevate our floor, to figure out who can step into those roles that were vacated by those players. But those are some big shoes to fill, and so we're trying to figure out if we have the solutions in-house right now, younger, or if we have to go to the transfer portal and maybe go grab a more experienced center back, or that, can provide some more stability quicker.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit there about experience and just, seeing players grow, especially just on the field. But how do you see your players especially grow throughout, their 3-4 years in college? They come in as freshmen, they're new, they're green, and then they leave as, students with a degree and, with 4 years on the team.
Yeah, you see the growth in so many ways. I'm a big part of my coaching philosophy is to maximize players' potential, right? And I think that's really essential, because I don't sleep well at night if I didn't do my due diligence to maximize somebody's potential. If they're with me, they're going to get maximized, both as a player, as a person. We teach life through soccer. That's a concrete part of our program, and a really foundational pillar of everything that we do. But you just see growth in how they in their public speaking skills. We put them into situations where they have to share their thoughts. They break down film in front of their teammates. There's so many instances. Obviously I love the learn by doing philosophy at Cal Poly, so I try to bring the learn by doing to my program. So if you can explain somebody how to tactically break something down, on video, you're probably going to be able to then do it, on the field when it's happening at 100 miles an hour. And so I think We see growth in that. We see them grow from young women to women that are ready to conquer the world. I want to continue to be recruiting players that want to be professional players. You know, we have Camille Lefay right now that's playing at Rangers. I mean, she's an absolute stud in Scotland right now, and we want to continue to have players come to Cal Poly that ambition a pro route, and we want Cal Poly to be a place where they can grow and get better and prepare for that step. So I think we see it in a multitude of ways. Life, as daughters, as sisters, partners, and I think we just talk about it all, because I do think that soccer and life are very, very closely related. It's not one or the other, So I think it's a really important part of our program.
Yeah, and you are a life coach, right?
Correct.
Your website, Built to Shine.
Dude, Ty, you're on it, man. Yes.
Yeah, kind of dive into that. Like, what? How do you see? Tell me more about how you see soccer fitting into life, and and also why have you gone into kind of this life coaching type of business? Yeah.
So, my mom is a life coach, back in Portugal, and her dream was to build a company with me, and for us to have a project together, right? And actually, the project came into fruition during COVID, where people needed coaching. People needed life coaching, and so we started a project then. We named it Built to Shine, and it's something that we continuously do. We have clients, we have people that we meet. Primarily, everything is done through Zoom, because Zoom is the new world in a lot of ways, and so it allows us to work remotely. My mom is still in Portugal, so it allows us to, with her schedule and an 8-hour difference to me, we can still work together in projects. And but yeah, it was a super important project, super cool, rewarding experience for me, because you get the chance to. I particularly like to work with younger people. But we've worked with older people that also feel like they reach a point in their life where maybe they're not fulfilled. They have all the money in the world, but maybe they're not getting the fulfillment that they need. And so it's been a really cool project to work with her. As it pertains to your second question, I mean, I think sports are the perfect vehicle to teach life. I mean, there's ups, there's downs, there's frustration, there's nerves, there's stress, you have to perform. There's just so much to it. And so I tell the team all the time, because right now we're really focused on building a really strong foundational culture. They're like, Coach, when can we get to soccer? And I was like, guys, this is soccer right here. We played Fresno State a couple of weeks ago, and the Valley Grit, they kicked our butt, and that was life. Those girls at Fresno State, they just have had potentially a different upbringing than at Cal Poly, and because we live by the beach, maybe we're a little bit more entitled, and we feel like life has been better by the coast. I don't know. So all these things, it's like, guys, we didn't lose the soccer game, we lost life right there. And I think it's just teaching them these concepts. I think they're very closely related. People like to see them as separate, like culture, soccer. I mean, and I'm like, they're all together. I'm a pretty good X's and O's guy for sure, and I like that stuff. But I think where I really shine is the culture part, and I think culture is life and life is culture. And so I just try to really tell our players that and bring examples. We had a conversation earlier today about, Stanford, is a program that has a sustained excellence, right? They have every year, Elite Eight, Final Four, championships, every year. How do you achieve sustained excellence, right? I mean, it's this ambition to be the best all the time. They wake up every single day wanting to dominate. And that's when you're done with soccer, guys, you're going to continue to do that. If you are a winner when you get out of bed, as I tell them this, you're a winner or a loser when you get out of bed. And you make that decision right away, by deciding to maybe go get a workout, or by deciding what you eat. What did you feed yourself? Did you eat breakfast? Did you not eat breakfast? I mean, those are winning decisions that hopefully they can take for the rest of their lives, even when soccer is done. So I think it's just continuously teaching them that the two are closely related and connected, and then, when the wins start coming, then they're like, okay, this is actually working now, so.
Yeah, and I mean, Portugal is such a powerhouse in men's soccer, but the U.S. is a powerhouse in women's soccer.
Yep.
What do you think contributes to that? And you have such potential for people to go on and play professionally and play for the national team and whatnot when you're in America. And does that help you as you're trying to recruit people who want to be really competitive, internationally?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I think the world is catching on, and I mean it's going to be interesting in the next couple of years. There's a lot of investment happening in Europe. There's a lot of investment in South America. And so you're starting to see a lot of opportunities, for women's soccer growth in other countries. And so I think the United States has been a powerhouse because I just think it's been a country where in a lot of ways there's this push for equality between, male athletes and female athletes with Title IX. There's just been certain things that have been done historically that I think have helped make sure that women have the same opportunities as men. And I remember when I started dating my wife in Santa Barbara, she was a soccer player, and I took her on vacation to go meet my family in Portugal. And this was 2009. And I remember bringing her to Portugal, and I'm going to go play pickup with my buddies, and she brought her cleats too, right? And I was already in this country for 2 years, so I'm like, yeah, girls play with guys, it doesn't matter. She shows up at the scrimmage where we're playing pickup, and my buddies say that she can't play. And I'm like, what do you mean she can't play? And they're like, is she any good? And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Yeah, she's good. She plays college soccer. And they're like, no, we're not. And I'm like, well, if you want me, she needs to play. And then she juked one of the guys, and all of a sudden they're like, dude, I want her on my team. And I'm just like, so it's just breaking these barriers. And I think it's taken some time in Europe and South American countries where the male figure is is the breadwinner. I mean, all these things. I think in the United States, that stuff has been a little bit different over historically speaking. And so I think that has helped women's sports become what they are, and the women's national team become what it is. And so, but I say this I think that there's we're getting to a point where the world is catching up, and we need to continue to do our due diligence in this country to continue to produce top players, top people that we can feed into the national team, and I want Cal Poly to be a place that can help with that, and I do think that this place can do that, so it's I can go on and on about that, because I do think that growing up in Portugal and then coming to the United States, I've seen the two, and to see my wife experience that going back with me was a really interesting story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm just curious, what did she say when they told her no?
I mean, it's funny because she wasn't, we showed up to the complex, and there's not even a girl's restroom for her to change. And so she already, I kind of had warned her, so she was kind of aware going into it that could be a possibility. But when she gets there, she's like, where's the women's, restroom? And there's no women's restroom. And my wife is like, what do you mean? And I'm like, so I have to tell all the guys to get out of the restroom so that my wife or my girlfriend at the time can change so she can play the game. So she just starts noticing these things, and things that I never even thought about when I was growing up there, that when you come to the United States, you saw the equality, and you're like, dude, we are so behind here. So, but she didn't think anything of it. She's like, okay, so I can play now? Okay, perfect. And then she just plays, and showed them up, and it was awesome. It was a cool story. We still laugh with those same friends that I'm obviously really close with. We still laugh about that story and how backward they were in their thinking,
Yeah, I mean, I hope they install a women's restroom there.
I know, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I haven't gone back there in a while, but I'm sure at some point they will.
Yeah, and I mean, once you're on the field and you just, you compete, and that's kind of, I think,
absolutely
what you're trying to bring to Cal Poly as well. And just, that feeling when you wake up and you want to be a winner. I mean, that's, you know, a way of life. And I think that's something really important for the program.
Absolutely. 100%.
I think that should about do it. Is there anything else you'd like to add or just say about Cal Poly women's soccer?
Well, I think I'll just close by saying that it's been I've been here for 5 months. It feels like home. I'm just really grateful, obviously, for the opportunity that the administration has given me here. And, you know, to follow Alex's footsteps is huge. And, you know, our slogan with Cal Poly 2.0 is honor, elevate, dominate. And the honor part is to honor everything that Coach Alex has built here. The elevate is this want to push and to elevate to higher levels. And the dominate is like it's something that we've got to just do every single day. It's so controllable for us, you know. And we actually had a conversation with our team about that today, about the word dominate. And it's just about absolutely being the best Cal Poly women's soccer team that we can be, you know. And I think if we are every single day focused on that as a staff, as players, the future is going to be bright and wins will be a byproduct. So, but the team has been incredible. The administration has been incredible. The support of the community. I really feel like I'm coming home because a lot of the people that were here when I was an assistant are still here. And so I think everybody is really happy with my return. So it's a perfect marriage. And we're past the honeymoon phase and we're still married and we're still, you know, really enjoying everything. And so I'm just really excited about what we're building. And I appreciate you guys' time and I appreciate the invite and looking forward to being back at some other point and potentially celebrating with you guys a championship in the fall.
Yeah, welcome back, and we're excited to see how it goes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we really appreciate having you on here.
Yeah.
I just can't wait to see what you do. You have me excited for sure for next year. But yeah, I mean, that should about do it for the Gallop for this episode today. Thank you so much, Bernardo, for coming on.
I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate it.
Go Mustangs.